Okay, hello all you people who love teepees and travois and uh, that whole thing. Okay, um, I there's not a lot of literature on the travois. We know that we're pretty sure there's drag marks. I think 50 yards or 50 feet of drag marks along with the footprints over there in the White Sands um, uh, White Sands National Park or National Monument. I've been there. I can't remember which one it is. I've been to the park. I haven't been to the footprints or the drag lines. But apparently, we know in historic times that the locals that were here before we Europeans got here, the locals, especially all up and down everywhere, they used travois, what the French word travois. Each tribe had a different word for what that was. I think in a Lakota language, I think it's Hupahan. That's what I see in the Laubin book, that a travois is called a Hupahan because a pole is called a hupa. But I call it a drag. There's other things like toboggans and things where in sleds where people pull behind. But the travois is specifically a couple of poles on a dog carried by a human, or later in more recent historic times, um, the horse would drag the poles along and drag the travois along too. Okay, so what I'm working on here is kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the travois come first, or did the conical teepee come first? And so what I've done is I've imagined that there's six people in the band, each with a, or maybe these are dog travois too. Maybe it's a man, a woman, and a couple of kids and a couple of dogs. So there's six travois, and I made them to where they all cross over at the same thing, at the same angle, and instead of being back and forth, because they lock in together at the when they're all at the same angle. And then I put the carrying part on the inside so that things can be hung. But I imagine that you can drag this along wherever you're going, and two or three people can throw them up real quick. Storm in a way, because that's a good way to storm. That way you, instead of bending down and picking them up, you reach up and pick them apart. But I mean, I envision or I imagine that you use the tump line on your head and maybe a chest line also, along with, because these are skinny poles, but some of these travois were pretty heavy duty. So anyway, they all fit together, and I say that now. If this was six adults, it doesn't end up having a lot of sleeping area in there. Those are 8-foot poles. That's probably the shortest that these would have gotten to be, because you have to. Humans are big and they take up the space when they sleep, but you can get four humans in there side by side, but then you can't put a fire in there at the same time. But you can put a man and a woman, a couple of kids, and a couple of dogs, and it's a reasonable thing. You have a few animal hides to go over the outside. Buffalo and elk are pretty big, and 3 or 4 of them draped over, and you've got a pretty good covering, waterproof, windproof, and all that. Put some rocks down along the outer edge to hold it down, and then some kind of loop around up at the top to where the hides stay on. On the inside, you would have your fur hides for your sleeping bags. So basically, the travois has to carry a hide and a sleeping bag, and then probably some furry clothes and some leather clothes, and the different foods that you take along. I see this as when you stack these. There are photos of travois being stacked in the I think the 1800s, and but they're not being used to build a shelter. They're used to hang things on, or maybe to smoke meat or fish or something, or just to store them out of the way. Later on, as the wheel came in, the travois kind of fell by the wayside, and you do see it used in movies and different things. There's a modifications with wheels on for bicycles and for emergency rescue people and everything. So, but that use the word travois. And as a matter of fact, I think there's a vehicle like a motorhome that's called travois, I think. So anyway, this is the deal here. That happens to be about 10 feet across on the bottom. It's 8 feet up on each pole side. It gives a pretty, let me see, I did calculate this once upon a time. If it's 10 feet diameter, it's the area equals pi r squared. So 5 times 5 is 25 times pi, 3, that's 75, 80 square feet in there, which is pretty good size. Now, a couple of people could be in there with a small fire. But as it is, I think that it was heated by the humans and by the dogs for the most part on traveling. And there you go. That's my theory. My theory is that the travois can turn into a teepee. The teepee can turn into the travois. They're interrelated. They're certainly culturally interrelated because Apache in the South used them as well as Crow and well, Blackfeet and everybody else up in the mountain plains area. So anyway, I talked too much. There you go. That's the idea that I had, was make a cone out of a bunch of travois, and I just have. Now you just have to imagine me putting a couple of tarps on that. I don't like blue tarps. I'd use white canvas, or I'd get some of those camouflage tarps or whatever, you know, nylon. It doesn't matter. Preferably nylon, but you know, or plastic. But you know, which one pollutes worse, I don't know. But because you know, killing animals nowadays ain't the way to do it. Yeah, you could put brush on this. I don't know, hay bales or what. I mean, you know, straw. You know, pats of. You could put stuff on the outside of it. You tar paper, a carpet that you found along the, you know, because people throw carpets out all the time, right? Out by El Paso, Texas, out in the desert, there's people go out in the desert and dump, and carpets end up everywhere. So it's a good survival item. Too bad there's not much water there. Okay, there you go. There you have it. I call it the traveling teepee, traveling travois teepee concept theory. That they're all blended together, and you know, you can prove that they lock up. That's, you know, don't know if they did. I don't have no idea if anybody ever did this. So this is kind of like pseudoscience here. So and I'm not an anthropologist, and I'm not an expert on the subject. I just like conicals and domes and teepees and travois and things that we used to do way back before all this modern stuff came along. Hey, have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.